Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining in. We will give another 2 minutes for the others to join in, and we will start this webinar. Thank you.
Clear, Aduh. Right. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Shiran, yeah, good afternoon, everybody. What is the situation? The DG is awaiting to what time are you going to start the meeting?
We can start now.
We can start. Okay, then I'll call the DG.
Sure. We can start.
The mic is here. In a minute.
ඒක වැඩි කරන්න බලමුකෝ. යන්න දෙන්න.
මේ සුදීතා මේගොල්ලෝ මේ දෙකට ආවම අපි හරි ඕක. එන්න. කියලා.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this virtual discussion on the opportunity to partner with Sri Lanka Customs on the CEO AEO Initiative, brought to you by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce in partnership with Sri Lanka Customs as well. We have a full lineup today to go through this program to understand the CEO AEO Initiative and how the private sector can join it as well. Before I go into the main proceedings, let me just give you a few house rules to all the participants who have joined in. Please keep your mics and cameras off at all times so that it doesn't interfere or inhibit any of the speakers when they're speaking as well. But during the course of the webinar, do send in your questions on the chat box, which I will pick up as the moderator in the Q&A panel discussion. In terms of the other housekeeping rules, that's simply it. And let me also warmly welcome our partners from Sri Lanka Customs as well, who've joined in as well. As the program goes on, I will definitely introduce each and every one of them who will be sharing their perspectives on the topic as well. In terms of the Ceylon Chamber, I think this initiative is very much in line with our trade facilitation measures and conducting general awareness programs. We are hoping to also share an expression of interest or questionnaire for companies to really join this AEO CEO training. This questionnaire will actually be distributed to all the webinar participants post this call to see whether their interest is there for registering for this training post this initial briefing. We're also hoping to do with customs a detailed workshop for about 50 companies based on this questionnaire, regional awareness sessions as well in certain districts as well, Kandy, Kurunegala. Please keep your mics on mute for those joining in. We're also interested to provide mentoring and coaching support for companies interested in identifying the gaps in their current systems in complying to this and helping them improve their overall compliance for the CEO AEO program. So those are what the chamber has lined up for it, and I think to start this process, this webinar is very aptly timed as well. So with those opening remarks and welcome remarks, let me now warmly welcome the Director General of Sri Lanka Customs, Major General retired G. Vijita Ravipriya. Major General, over to you. I believe the mic is on mute at the customs end.
Am I loud and clear now?
Yes, very clear. Very clear.
Well, good afternoon. Members of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, all the staff members of the Sri Lanka Customs who are with me, ladies and gentlemen. Hope all of you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Well, it's privilege and great pleasure for me to deliver the welcome speech on this occasion. Um, One of our key trade facilitation initiatives, the Authorized Economic Operation Program. At a time, the volume of cargo moved across the Sri Lankan borders.
Excuse me, your message is clear, but but the picture is not clear.
It's just not clear. Hold on.
Yes.
Picture is not clear.
Okay.
Now?
Okay. Now it's okay. Okay.
So, as I said, at a time, the volume of cargo moved across the Sri Lankan borders is getting increased day by day. As Sri Lanka Customs, we are facing a much bigger challenge in achieving a balance of objectives, such as ensuring the due state revenue, safety, and social security of the people, while facilitating the legitimate trade. Whilst achieving above-mentioned objectives, I'm very confident the Sri Lanka Customs AEO program will be a great tool for us in facilitating the compliant trading community of this country. With the AEO program, we are trying to provide the maximum facilitation to genuine traders while sharing the responsibility of creating a safe supply chain with them. So, I hope the trading community will understand the significance of this program and join hands with us to create a safe supply chain which will ultimately benefit both Sri Lanka Customs and the trading community as well. To obtain such facilitation measures from Sri Lanka Customs, applicant companies have to fulfill certain prerequisites. These companies of the trading community should show that they are compliant companies with strong internal control mechanisms and supply chain security standards. We have structured the AEO program in a transparent manner and trying our level best to make this AEO application and validation process a simple and user-friendly system which each applicant company will know exact reasons for not accepting or rejecting them from the program. AEO application process has been designed completely web-based online process with the intention of making it easily accessible to everyone and avoid delays and drawbacks associated with traditional paper-based methods. So, even in a pandemic period like this, we will be able to continue the program without any interruptions. So, I would like to invite all the traders to go through the AEO application process thoroughly and show us your competency. On the other hand, Sri Lanka Customs promise that we will provide you maximum benefit that we can offer for such companies who demonstrate the highest level of internal controls and supply chain security standards. Further, we will continuously look forward for improvements in our AEO program in order to keep this program much more attractive and user-friendly to the compliant trading community. I must also highlight the next step of this AEO program. We are eagerly looking forward to sign some mutual recognition agreements with our common trading partner countries who have already have their own AEO programs. That will be a game changer for any of our AEO companies who do trading with those countries. In order to achieve that step, first we need to have an established AEO program in Sri Lanka with high standards. Now the structure is already in place. With the support of the trading community, I'm pretty sure we can go to the level accepted internationally in near future. Furthermore, our AEO steering committee will closely work with the World Customs Organization in order to keep our AEO program in line with the safe framework of standards. At this moment, I would like to thank the AEO steering committee and officials attached to risk management unit of Sri Lanka Customs for driving this initiative with their full commitment and wish them all the best in achieving next steps of the program. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Ceylon Chamber of Commerce for partnering with us to conduct this webinar and create the much needed awareness within the trading community regarding Sri Lanka Customs AEO program. And we're expecting your fullest support in going forward with this initiative as well. Finally, I would like to invite all the participants of this webinar again to join hands with the Sri Lanka Customs AEO program, earn the prestigious AEO status, and enjoy the defined benefits which will ultimately help you out to achieve your business goals. Thank you and have a pleasant day.
Thank you very much, Major General Vijay Ravipriya, the DG Sri Lanka Customs, for providing that opening remarks and really setting the tone for our discussion, and also encouraging the private sector also to come on board with this as well. Very encouraging to hear those words from you, sir. We will now move to an address by Mr. Sunil Jaratna, Additional Director General of Customs, Revenue and Services.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, the DG Customs, my colleagues, especially the officials of the Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Niroshan, sorry, Shiran, Mr. Shiran, the moderator today. With a great pleasure, we are joining from the Sri Lanka Customs. This is one of the key requirement under WTO, TFA, and customs modernization efforts, especially at the time we are implementing the WTO, TFA. I would like to give a little briefing on that because this measure is coming under category C. For the implementation, ease of the implementation, WTO, TFA, the countries like us, the developing and least developed countries has got some privileges in the sense flexible implementation facilities. Under that, the articles of the TFA have been categorized under three categories: category A, B, and C. Category A, in the sense the measures that we have already implemented, that is passed. The category B is also same, to be implemented within 2 years, that is also passed. And most of the measures out of 36 measures,
I think your mic has gone on mute. If you can unmute it from your end. The Teams connection mic.
Now,
can you hear Shiran?
Okay. I can hear you.
Yes, now we can hear.
Yeah, Shiran, is it clear now?
Yes, it's clear, sir.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. He was mentioning that the requirement under WTO, TFA, there are three categories. This measure is coming under category C to be implemented within the given period. We have already informed the WTO, TFA committee regarding the definitive dates. According to my memory, we have to implement this key measure within 2 years' time. And despite that measure is coming under the WTO, TFA, our AEO implementation team, there's a steering committee as well, being the chairman of that committee. We have already started that measure, especially the hard work of the risk management unit people. That's a very dedicated team. Have already started the work on that. And most of our colleague knows who is the members of the National Trade Facilitation Committee and the authorized committee to implement the WTO TFA committee that is chaired by the Director General of Customs and co-chaired by the DG Commerce. They know the benefits of the trade facilitation measures very well, in addition to the customs staff. So as our DG correctly brought out, the people who are joining to this process can enjoy an additional trade facilitation measures. Our attempt is to get all the traders to a unique line, and unique line in the sense level of the world to the category of legitimate trade in the sense the compliant traders level. So at the time of at the initial stage, we have already got about 8, according to my memory, traders to this. We are always encouraging to join the other traders to enjoy the extra trade facilitation measures in order to clear your stuffs as soon as possible, in the sense in an expedited manner. The key and sole intention is to reduce the trade cost and get the things cleared without minimum customs intervention, and so you can save your time, finally your money as well. Being the head of National Trade Facilitation Committee Secretariat, I would like to congratulate you all, especially our team and the the importers who have already considered to join to this invaluable scheme, and also the others who are willing to join in future. Uh, I would like to congratulate you all. Having said that, without wasting our time, I would like to conclude my remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunil, for outlining how this is part of our TFA commitments and kind of the timeline and the expectation from customs point of view. Let me remind our participants joining in to kindly keep their mics on mute so that there is no disturbance to the audience. Next, we will have a short review of the CEO AEO initiative, and this will be done by Mr. Sunil Jaratna, who is the additional Director General of he's the Deputy Director of Customs at the Risk Management Unit at Sri Lanka Customs. Siddharth De Silva, over to you.
Thank you, Sharan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can't see you as yet, but we can hear you.
The camera is on.
No worries, Siddharth. Maybe we can just have your audio on. You can continue.
Yeah. Good afternoon, DG sir, and all customs colleagues, and all members from the trade chambers. I'm a happy man today because I can see the things are moving the right direction with regard to this AEO matter. When I first took over the subject in 2018, actually I didn't have sufficient staff, office space, and office equipment as well. Ultimately, I managed to get all these facilities, and now we have been able to see the things are moving forward. The major problems I saw when I got hold of this subject, as a person who loved enforcement most at the beginning, I saw the facilitation is much required for the traders. So, and I saw that enforcement and facilitation go hand in hand every time. We cannot facilitate the trade without uh, enforcement. So now we are looking at the core of the risk management. First, we have to identify the high risk areas and to refer those consignments for intrusive and non-intrusive examinations, and to reduce the volume of examination. During the civil war, we were referring all the consignments for examination. That was a hard time spent by the traders. And when we started the first wave of COVID, we were referring 75% of our containers for examination. So by now, we have been able to reduce it to 30%. That's a very good achievement as a department. And I must thank the DG and ADG for helping me in that task, and the able staff that are supporting me all the time. Uh, and we are trying our very best to handle these issues smoothly. You all have witnessed that there were strikes going on a few months back. The drivers were on strike because the yards were full, the roads were congested, so we had to find out solutions. So with discussions with DG and ADG, we were able to handle that issue. Now there will be no more problems of that nature in the future. That's a matter for me to uh, that's a matter. Just a moment. Now, these days, we are getting 2,200 containers moving across the customs borders. We are handling that issue, and it is with great pleasure that you are monitoring these issues. I know these days some traders are having some bitter experiences with regard to registration. Anyway, that's a requirement under a smooth trade facilitation mechanism. At the beginning, you all may have these experiences, but we are trying our very best to overcome these issues. Uh, and what we are trying to do is to eliminate the fraudulent fractions who are involved in these imports and exports. Then only we can facilitate the legitimate trade. So this is twofold. One is to eliminate this fraudulent fraction, and then to appreciate the legitimate importers. The I think we have achieved it to a certain extent. That's why we have been able to reduce the examination to 30%. By that, we will be facilitating the legitimate trade. And in the same time, we are having the green channel and fast track mechanism. We have experienced many gaps in the existing system. There are less internal controls. Uh, in order to overcome the issues we are encountering with this green channel and fast track mechanism, AEO would be a very good alternative. So with that, we are trying to shift from green channel and fast track mechanism to AEO mechanism. With that, we will be able to cash them up first to the CEO sector, and then to move forward with the AEO mechanism. Uh, with the implementation of CEO and AEO program, we will have to do away with the green channel fast track mechanism. There are reasons, because we had one instance, there were 10 consignments of contrabands coming under a green channel company. So that is because there were gaps in the internal controls. So with this AEO program, we are filtering these companies, their systems. We are helping them out to solve their problems, to improve their internal controls. With that, we think we will be extend more and more facilities to these legitimate traders. So we expect all of these uh, participants today will join hand with us with that effort, and with the pilot project we launched. we had 30 odd companies coming in, but ultimately 3 of those companies were able to fulfill the requirements. That means they could not pop up with the requirements. That means they have to improve further their internal controls and other mechanisms. So we will help them out with the AEO program coming very soon. We will be inviting all of you to come into that mechanism as compliant trade partners. I hope you will give us the opportunity to serve you by becoming compliant traders in all aspects. So this is a global trend. This is a global initiative. So we are becoming a part of that. I'm happy Sri Lanka Customs is moving forward, and with the trade chambers and traders joining us with this noble effort. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sudat, for outlining kind of the status quo of this program and also explaining some of the practical, I think, implications of the CEO AEO program as well. With that outline sort of in place, let me now invite Mr. Dinusha Hettiarachchi, who is the Superintendent of Customs, to make a presentation on the AEO program. Dinusha, over to you.
Hello, Shiran. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Let me try to share the presentation material first. Can you all see the presentation?
Yes, if you can put it on full screen, that will be appreciated.
It's full screen. Can you? I've put it on full screen, but is it not?
On the slideshow, maybe.
Maybe there's a delay.
Why don't you start off?
Shall I start?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to all of you. I am Dinusha Hettiarachchi, Superintendent of Customs. Today, my job is to present you with all the main features of the Authorized Economic Operator Program that Sri Lanka Customs is planning to launch in the very near future. We have conducted several this kind of awareness sessions. First of all, I would like to thank Ceylon Chamber of Commerce for coming forward as one of the strategic partners to raise the awareness among the trade community. We highly appreciate that. Hopefully, they will stay with us and continue this partnership in the future. Let me move forward. Can you see the second slide? I'm not too sure whether the slides are moving or not. Shiran, can you see the outline?
Not as yet.
Can you upload the, share the presentation from your end and give the control to me? I think that would work.
Sure, let me try that. You'll have to stop sharing. Sorry.
Let me, one moment. I'm not sharing anymore.
Just give me a second. I will load it. Yeah, it's on the screen now. We'll move to the next slide.
Great. This is the outline for today's discussion. First of all, we'll look at why we need such a program as the Authorized Economic Operator Program for the trading community as well as for Sri Lanka Customs. Then I'll briefly go through the structure of the program, how it is structured, what are the criteria that the traders and the other operators who will have to fulfill, and what kind of benefits we are offering for those who have fulfilled the requirements. And then I'll briefly explain about the pilot project that's been going on since last September. Then we will move on to the panel discussion where we have an eminent panel from Sri Lanka Customs. So we will ask all the internal details and the future plans about this program. Well, as you can see, I have listed out some of the key economic operators in the international supply chain. And I've highlighted 3 of them: importers, exporters, and the customs brokers. Why I have highlighted is we will start with these 3 operators for our program, with importers, exporters, and customs brokers. But in the future, in the very near future, with the expansion of the program, once we establish the program with these 3 operators, we plan to expand it to all the other operators and maybe even beyond in the future. So let's focus on importers, exporters, and customs brokers for the moment, and let's see what the program is where we are offering to these operators. Now to see why we need such a program. Why do we need, is it moving forward?
Yeah, we're in the categorization of importers based on revenue.
I think I clicked. It's not, I think. Some of the animations are not coming in. I don't know. It's not moving. Okay, it's coming. Now, this is the categorization of importers based on the revenue that they generate. Now, as you can see, the left side, 97% of the importers give us 15% of the revenue that's been generated. This is based on 2019 data, 2019 information, not 2020. 2020 wouldn't have been a good benchmark due to the pandemic situation. So rest of the 3% importers give us 85% of the import revenue or the tax revenue collected by customs. It's not moving forward again. Slides are not okay. Now I can. There's a huge delay in playing the slides.
There's a bit of a lag, so maybe just continue. We'll slide.
Okay, great. And I cannot see the below part of the slides. I don't know why.
We can view it. We can see the bottom.
Okay, great. 3% of importers are giving 85% of the import revenue, which is a huge area that we can focus on, because these 3% of the importers are giving us 85%. So what if we improve the compliance level of these 3%? It'll have a huge impact on the total revenue generated by Sri Lanka Customs. It's a huge opportunity for us to move towards a compliance management based risk management, and that in that regard, AEO program is a good incentive for us to give more facilities to these 3% of the importers and improve their compliance levels. Can you move to the next slide? Okay, it's moving. There's another incentive, ease of doing business, which is which has been very much talked about in the trading community as well as in the political community. Now, what we can see is how we have progressed over the years. As you can see, we have been improving gradually, but improving in most of the indexes. But when you look at the trading across border rank, which is kind of a accumulation of factors which decide the trading across rank, we have been going down. Now, this is not good. In 2013, our rank was 56, and by 2019, it has gone down to 96. But time to export, cost to export, time to import, cost to import, trading cost to import, all these factors have been improving marginally, but our overall rank has been going down. The reason we can see is although we have been improving, our competitors, the other trading countries, have been improving at much better rate. So we need to improve. So this is another incentive why we need such programs as AEO to improve our ease of doing business rank and attract foreign investments and make our businesses more competitive in the international trade. This is another reason. Now, there's a document called WCO, World Customs Organization. There's a message that hello, is it clear? I see a message that it's not clear. Is it clear?
Yeah, there was someone who had switched on their mic. So let me just ask everyone to keep their mics on mute. Continue, Dinusha.
Okay. There's a document called Safe Framework of Standards, which defines the customs to business partnership when it comes to supply chain security. Under that, the second pillar, the customs business partnership. Hello, Shirana, is it clear?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Continue.
Under the customs business partnership, it is a must, but I cannot see the last part of the slide, so I don't know how I'm going to present. Great, now I see. Under the customs to business partnership, each customs administration will establish a partnership with the private sector in order to involve it in ensuring the safety and security of the international trade supply chain. This is a requirement that each customs administration has to fulfill as an obligation to the World Customs Organization Safe Framework of Standards. This is one standard that we are trying to achieve by launching this program. This is another requirement that we have to fulfill, that is fulfilling the Article 7.7 of the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement. To fulfill that, each member who has signed this agreement shall provide an additional trade facilitation measures related to import, export, and transit formalities and procedures to operate who meet specific criteria hereinafter called authorized operator. We'll discuss, if time permits, during the Q&A session, the panel discussion, in more detail regarding the differences in these two agreements. But as a category C requirement, we have to fulfill this requirement. Now going to the structure of this program, well, it has two tiers. Two tiers. The lowest tier is called the compliant economic operators, and the higher tier is called the authorized economic operators. To get into the lowest tier, importers, exporters, and also the clearing agents, as I mentioned earlier, will have to show a high level of operational compliance. We'll discuss what is meant by the operational compliance. And after getting the CEO or the compliant economic operator status, they can move on to the authorized economic operator status after a while. We'll discuss the details later. But in addition to the high level of legal and operational compliance, to get into the authorized economic operator status, they will have to show high level of supply chain security. We'll discuss again what we mean by the supply chain security here. And they need to have continuously operated as a CEO for a minimum of 1 year. Now, this is the pathway for any operator to get into the AEO status. It could be a green channel or fast track company who's enjoying the trade facilitation measures offered by Sri Lanka Customs at present. It could be any other importer or exporter who does not have a green channel or fast track facility. It could be any other logistic operators that we plan to get into this program in the future, or it could be a customs broker or a clearing agent. They will have to apply through the web-based portal that we have developed. So it's an online application process. No paper documents will be involved there. After putting in the application, there'll be a validation process which will involve 2 steps. First steps, we'll go through, screen the documents and all the information that they have submitted through the web portal. After going through the documents, we'll make an assessment on the documents itself. Then we'll decide whether we need an interview or not to do further validation, or on-site validation as we call it. If necessary, we'll go for the on-site validation. For a CEO company, it is not mandatory to have an on-site validation, but to get the AEO certification or AEO authorization, an on-site validation is a must. So during the on-site validation, what we do is we will thoroughly assess in each and every areas I will discuss in a later slide. In each and every area related to this CEO or AEO facility, and then we'll give a score, and we'll give a report to both the applicant as well as customs. Based on the report submitted to the AEO steering committee that we have, the AEO steering committee will make the decision whether to award the status or not. This is the pathway. Let's discuss the details, the internal detail structure of the compliant economic operators, which is the lower tier of this program. First, we'll look at the eligibility criteria. Who can apply for the compliant economic operator status? It's a voluntary scheme, so any importer, exporter, or a clearing agent. So we will include clearing agent as well. First, at the beginning, we were not planning on including clearing agents, but we are thinking about including clearing agents as well for the first stage. So they can apply. Any of these 3 operators who are presently registered with customs can apply for this voluntary scheme. So we encourage fast track and green channel companies to apply, because the presently available fast track and green channel programs will be discontinued within a reasonable period of time of launching this program. This status will cover only one legal entity established in Sri Lanka. So it will not apply to a group of company if a group of company gets the status. And we are not encouraging that, and we are planning on not giving it to any group. So if a certain group of companies has 50 companies within it, 50 companies will have to apply separately and get the status for each and every company. Somebody is asking the permission to record the session. I'm sure Chamber of Commerce is recording the session. Can we move back to the previous slide? Sure. And we'll make a copy of these presentation slides available for all the participants. And we'll assess the legal compliance and management of commercial and transport records and the financial solvency. These 3 aspects are the main 3 areas that we will assess when we are granting the CEO facility. Next slide. So what benefits do they get after going through this process? One of the biggest advantages that they will get is the shorter cargo release time and the lesser physical examination of cargo. Shorter cargo release time is ensured by providing an expedited channel for document processing, and the scrutiny of documents, what we call as appraising, is given priority for these companies at the long room. Let it be the declarations directed at the head office, it could be air cargo long room. Wherever it is, we will have a prioritized channel for these CEO companies to get their documents appraised. And approximately 65% of the import cargo are exempted from physical examination within 1 calendar year. So that's a huge benefit for these companies, getting exempted from physical examination, because the physical examination involves additional cost in clearing goods. In addition, we'll have some other benefits provided. AEO ID cards will be granted to 5 authorized personnel. This might look as a trivial benefit, but this will be useful, especially for the like higher-end employees like CEOs, managing directors, or directors who are constantly visiting customs for different matters. They will have easy access. They will not have to get a visitor's pass from customs, and they will be recognized as an AEO title holder whenever they enter any directorate of Sri Lanka Customs. So that will be a prestigious benefit. And we will provide separate spaces earmarked within the LCL warehouses, especially the state and public bonds. We are planning on doing this very soon and having meetings with the SLPA. This will give these companies an additional security. We know there are so many issues with the LCL warehouses. We are losing goods, damage of goods. So we are trying to prevent such activity happening to these CEO companies. And whenever there is a dispute on a classification, valuation, or origin, at present, usually prior to clearance of the goods, you have to provide a bank guarantee, a security to customs. But for these companies who are recognized as compliant economic operators, the bank guarantees that should be furnished is maximum of 50% of the disputed amount, which is a relief for these companies. But in case of the seized goods, where there is a fraud suspected, this will not apply. This is only for classification, valuation, and country of origin disputes. And whenever there is a dispute on classification, valuation, and country of origin, we will provide expedited channels, expedited dispute resolution through specialized channels, separate channel for these CEOs and AEOs. That would be very much advantageous for them. And also, post-clearance audits will be conducted only once a year for these companies, maximum once a year. So you will not have different divisions of customs visiting you and conducting audits several times during the year. SMS alerts and alert emails regarding each stage of this declaration process will be provided free of charge to them, and we will provide 24/7 clearance on request for all these companies, both for sea and air cargo consignments. They will be exempted from being referred to verification of values. Their values will not be referred to Valuation Directorate on routine basis. So if there is a dispute regarding values, it will not hinder the clearance of the goods, and it will be addressed separately by Valuation Directorate or the Post Clearance Directorate, but it will not delay the clearance of the cargo. And with regard to advanced rulings, we will provide expedited channels for classification, valuation, and also country of origin, which we'll plan to introduce in the future. So these companies, the CEOs will, and also AEOs, will get an expedited channel for advanced rulings in these 3 areas. This is a special benefit that will be associated with CEO and AEO operators. We are trying to introduce an officer who we call AEO Relationship Officer, who will be at the level of Assistant Superintendent or above, It could be risk management unit, but once the program expands, it could be from any directorate. We'll have a panel of AEO relationship officers trained to do this job, and their job would be to become a single point of interaction for these companies, for AEOs and CEOs. What they will do is, whenever these companies have a legitimate concern regarding their AEO or CEO status or the benefits granted to them, they will be the single contact point and interact with different directorates of customs to make sure their facilities are uninterrupted and their rights are preserved. So they will be the focal point, the coordinating point for these companies. Let me move on to the Authorized Economic Operators program, the higher tier of this program. Before moving on, let me tell you that whatever the benefits that are mentioned under CEO program or the compliant economic operator status will be applicable for AEOs as well. So whatever I mentioned here would be in addition to what I mentioned earlier. First, I'll go through the eligibility criteria. This could be importers, exporters, and logistics operators. Out of the logistics operators, for the launching of the program, we will only include clearing agents, but gradually we'll add other operators as well. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a voluntary scheme. So in addition, any company who wishes to become an AEO should have continuously enjoyed the CEO status at least for 1 year preceding the date of application for AEO status. So that is a requirement. In addition, now I'll mention the legal compliance, management of commercial and transport records, and financial solvency under compliance as a requirement to get the CEO status. In addition to that, now these 3 areas we have assessed when they applied for CEO status. When they apply for the AEO status, when they try to upgrade themselves from CEO to AEO status, we will assess in addition the supply chain security under these areas. We'll assess the procedural security, financial solvency, premises security, cargo security, conveyance security, personnel security, security training and threat awareness of these companies, the consultation, cooperation, and communication between customs and other agencies, how they do that, education, training, and awareness of their employees, information exchange, access, and confidentiality of the information within the organization and with customs. These areas we'll assess. That's what we do during the validation process. So that's why we need to do an on-site validation to assess all these areas, because it's not as simple as assessing the legal compliance, management of commercial records and transport records, and the financial solvency. This is a much more complicated validation process. Now let me tell you what are the additional benefits we are giving for the companies who are moving from CEO to AEO status. They will be exempted from all the documentary examinations, appraisals at the declaration of cargo. That means there will be no document appraising. So they will put the documents online and they will get the gate pass and get the clearance for cargo. 100% of their import cargo is exempted from physical examination. But this is subjected to a random examination, less than 5% within the calendar year. So there is no guarantee that every car consignment is exempted from physical examination, but this 5% is minimal. We'll try to reduce this further based on the compliance level of these companies. But in general speaking, 100% of their import cargo is exempted from physical examination. Let's assume that one of their consignments is selected for cargo, physical examination based on random selection. If it's selected for physical examination, such examination will be done on priority at the cargo examination yards. So even if it is selected for examination, they will be prioritized in doing the examination. And upon request, these companies, the AEO status holders, can request to do an on-site examination, that is to do an out-panel examination as we have done in the past. And they will not have to furnish any bank guarantees for the disputes on classification, valuation, and country of origin. So whenever there's a dispute, we will allow them to clear the goods on a corporate guarantee. And resolve the dispute leisurely without delaying the clearance of cargo. But this will not apply to seized goods, goods which are seized or liable to be seized based on a fraud. Continuing the benefits offered to the authorized economic operators, we are planning to give self-sailing of export goods for all the AEO status holding companies. So the goods will not be panel examined at the export facilitation center. We are trying to discuss this with Consumer Affairs Authority. Due to the pandemic situation, we couldn't have the meetings. Importers will be given the facility to paste their MRP stickers within their premises for these AEO status holding companies. Another important benefit that we are offering to these AEO operators is the refunding. I mean, we know how difficult it is to get a refund from customs after there's a, if there is any difference of settlement of a dispute. It could be anything, but it is not an easy process to go through the refunding process. What we are proposing is for these companies who are enjoying the AEO status to guarantee their refund within 60 days of submission of complete set of documents. So they will have their refunds very soon compared to the current timelines. Another one of the very important benefits that we are proposing is benefits that you will get through the mutual recognition agreements. Mutual recognition agreements are the agreements that we sign with other customs administrations who have AEO programs. Once we sign these agreements, we will mutually agree that the other country's AEO program and the AEO status holding companies will be treated as an equivalent within our AEO program. So, for example, if we think that one of our companies, let's take company A in Sri Lanka has AEO status in Sri Lanka. When company A exports to Thailand, if Sri Lanka Customs and Thailand Customs have agreed to a mutual recognition agreement for the recognition of AEO programs, Thai Customs will give company A an AEO status equivalent treatment when exported goods from company A from Sri Lanka reaches Thai Customs. So that will be a huge advantage for companies who are into exports. Now this concludes the benefits and the structure of the program. So once we have defined this, now it took some time to design this program. Once we designed the program, what we thought was we will conduct a pilot project to test how our operators will get adjusted to this program and the process of applying for this AEO and CEO status. The main objectives or the rationale behind conducting the pilot project was to correctly identify and predict the resource requirements for the main project. So once we launched the project, we wanted to know what kind of resources from customs end and also from the operator's end is required to operate this program. And we want to identify specific issues related to different economic operator categories when this program is launched. And we want to streamline the AEO and CEO application process through the pilot program, where we have limited number of participants going on, so we can control the process. We can go scrutinize each and every step during the process, which will give us good feedback to assess the process and streamline it. And we have developed a web-based platform, as I mentioned earlier, to do the application process, a completely paperless application process for the CEO and AEO status. We wanted to assess and validate and check the design constraints and performance requirements, and also to do a system testing of this web-based platform through this pilot project. This pilot project we launched last September. Some of you may have joined the pilot project launching ceremony that we held. These are the 30 companies who have volunteered themselves. They're not getting anything, any special treatment. We have invited the trade, those who are in the green channel and fast track companies, and those who have participated our previous awareness sessions, which were held in 2020 January, prior to the launch of pilot project and during the design phase, where we want to do some awareness and get the feedback from the trade. Those during those awareness sessions, these companies volunteered to participate in the pilot project. And I'm very happy to say that although with the difficulties with the pandemic situation that we had during the last year, most of these companies are doing well, and we got the necessary feedback from the pilot project, and we are moving forward from the pilot project to main project very soon. Just to give you a brief idea about the web-based system, the portal that we have developed to manage the AEO life cycle. These are the four main areas that will be addressed during the within the system. Management of the application process of the economic operators. It's a 5-step process where each step will be automated and managed within the system. And we will be managing different AEO status, the changes of AEO status, tracking of their progress, and how to grant different benefits during each status, and how to assess their progress. And also the notification management is built into this, where there will be different system generated stages, where system generated emails will be sent from the changes of the status, and keeping all the relevant stakeholders informed regarding the significant changes to the system, as well as to their application process. And it will have a user account management process where each user group is managed separately, and there will be predefined set of permissions and predefined set of views, where each different user group will be able to limited to do only what they are given the privileges to do. Now, this will conclude the brief. Let me check if there is any more slide. No, this concludes the presentation, where I'm trying to cover the main focus areas of the AEO program that we are planning to launch very soon. And now I think we can move on to the panel discussion, where we have a very knowledgeable and eminent panel from Sri Lanka Customs, where you can pose your questions regarding the moderator, to get a further details and further clarifications regarding what this program is, the structure or the benefits, or any other area regarding the program. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity on behalf of Customs for giving us an opportunity to raise the awareness regarding the AEO program within the trade community. Thank you, Shira.
Thank you, Dinusha, for that presentation, really outlining the salient features of this initiative, and also giving kind of the differences between the two initiatives as well. As you said, we'll now head into the panel discussion. So to the participants, thanks for still staying on. I think this is the most crucial part of our discussion, where you can get some of your questions answered. So do put it in the chat box. I see some 2 or 3 relevant questions so far, which I will definitely get into. But now let me welcome the resource panel joining in from Sri Lanka Customs. I think you are seeing them on the screen as well. We have, of course, Sunil Jaratna, the Additional Director General of Customs, also joining in. Mr. Saroj Chandrasena, Deputy Director of Customs, Cargo Examination. Mr. Priyantha Sapramadu, Deputy Director of Customs Valuation. Mr. Sudatta Silva, Deputy Director of Customs Legal. Mr. Tilak Arachi, Deputy Director of Customs Industry and Services. Mr. Sudatta Silva, Deputy Director of Customs Risk Management, who we heard a few minutes back. Mr. G. Vijay Ratna Bandara, Deputy Director of Customs Compliance and Facilitation. Mr. Udita Jaisingha, Deputy Director of Customs Central Investigation. And of course, Dinusha, who made the presentation, all joining in this panel discussion and answering your questions. So while we give a bit more time for the panel, for the participants to send their questions on the chat box, let me pose a few questions as the moderator. Sunil, if I maybe get to you first in terms of my questions. What sort of is the rationale behind having a AEO relationship officer concept, and what benefits can the traders expect from the introduction of this?
The comprehensive presentation made by Dinusha, you may have some sort of knowledge in this regard. Actually, if I move your attention to the question, an officer in the position of ASC or above will be assigned as the single point of interaction for each CEO or AEO company as the AEO relationship officer. The AEO relationship officer will act as the direct focal point for any legitimate concerns and issues related to the CEO AEO facilities, and he will provide assistance and coordinate internally within customs to get any such issues sorted out. Have I answered the question, or is it clear? I can again repeat the second part. AEO relationship officer will act as the direct focal point for any legitimate concerns and issues related to the subject area, to facilities, and he will provide assistance and coordinate internally within the customs to get any such issues sorted out as soon as possible.
Thanks, Sunil. If I get to Mr. Saroj Chandrasena, maybe if you can explain us in detail the process of updating the AEO CEO status and how that will really benefit the trade when it comes to cargo examinations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I think cargo examination, the physical cargo examination or the intrusive examination is of concern to most of the importers, very especially even the exporters. It is a concern. It's a place where most of the time consumes as far as customs clearance is concerned. So in this special compliance trade program, the steering committee have suggested the proposed. Actually, you already know it's a two-tier program. There are two levels. Entry level is compliance economic operator. For those compliance economic operators, it has been proposed. They out of their total consignments per year, 65% of them to be exempted from physical or intrusive examination. That means only 35% will be subjected for physical examination. That is of course the entry level of this compliant trader program. In case of AEOs, once they attain the AEO status, the highest level, the 100% of their consignments are exempted from physical examination or intrusive examination. I think considering the personnel involved in this webinar, I am not going to explain the savings in terms of money, time, and all other things, headache. They are going to save from relieving from physical examinations.
Thank you, Saroj. I think that was very clear. We do have a few questions coming in the chat box about BOI firms and whether this is applicable for BOI companies. A couple of questions on that, and also a question on the courier company can also be an AEO. Maybe if I can get Dinusha or Sunil to maybe answer that.
Shiran?
Yes.
Shiran, can you hear me? Shall we take all of those questions at the end? I have noted all those questions regarding the BI companies, shipping lines,
Sure.
and courier companies. I have noted it down. We'll get to that at the end.
Sure, Dinusha. So if I go next to on the valuation side and bring Priyantha on board, when it comes to the valuation directorate, what kind of really benefits are offered to AEOs and CEOs?
Thank you, Shiran. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Shiran,
we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Well, international, as you have asked, that international trade is an very essential element for the economic development. Custom has the unique role for international trade to provide the increased security while ensuring the facilitation of the legitimate flow of goods. So once the goods come to the border, so you have to go through the process. Once you submit the custom declaration, until you get cleared from the customs good, you have to go through the process. Valuation is the one of component of this process. So as you are aware, most of people wish not to go to valuation. You go to clear the good without going to valuation because of two reasons. One reason is sometimes they may have to pay additional duty for the imported good, for considering the declared. Sometimes they may have spent some time in the valuation directorate to get the decided of the valuation issues. So time is money. The W Secretary General said one time, I remember very well, time is money because most importers want to clear their goods as much as faster to go to the market because they can earn much more money, save the money if they have the fast clearance. So for AEO, CEO and AEO, we have given opportunity because they be treated as a trusted trader. They are compliance traded. We have gone through very screening. As we screen process, we selected, we believe them. So therefore, we need not to refer them to the valuation routine basis. Even they refer to the valuation, most of the time we accept, we believe their declared value is acceptable, and we release the cargo, allowing this accepting the declared value. But if they have any doubt, any reasonable doubt, we will handle with the post-clearance audit branch later on. So that facility will get by the CEO and AEO. In addition to that, when the customs valuation dispute is arise, so we will have the dispute resolution mechanism to the special channel dedicated for them. So they can come directly, they can discuss with us, we can have the solution, resolution for the issues. As well as we have given priority for the advanced holding for the valuation matters. So if they refer the matter to either valuation committee, technical committee, or the valuation directorate, we will give priority for resolving their problem. In addition that any value issues, so we are not going to take bank guarantee because we trust you, we believe you, we have good cooperation between customs and you. We release on the corporate guarantee. So once the matter is resolved, either you have to pay. Definitely we know you will pay if there is no issue. So we release the goods on the bank guarantee. So this is things that at the moment that we are going to give the benefit for when the valuation is concerned. Thank you.
Thanks, Priyantha. I think that was quite clear for those joining in. If I now move to on the legal side as well, I think we heard Major General talking about MRAs, mutual recognition agreements, and how that will really benefit us. If I can get Sudatha Silva, who is the Deputy Director of Customs for Legal Affairs, to elaborate a bit more on this concept that was alluded to earlier and how really that will benefit the traders from such agreements.
Kiran, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mutual recognition is something very unique. I will just give you an example. Imagine you have a very pretty wife who has a prettier sister. So that means you have a prettier sister-in-law. And you suddenly wants to visit her uninvited. You go to her house, she will definitely take you in without any hesitation, provided that her sister trusts you 100%. Imagine that the two sisters are very close to each other and they share their experience, and your wife has already told her sister that she trusts you 100%. Other than one area, your sister-in-law will trust you 100%. There may be one or two reservations. So mutual recognition is based on trust. Trust between two countries, not between two sisters. When it comes to trust between two countries, the countries will enter into mutual recognition agreements. Because one country trusts the recognition given by another country to their economic operators. When it comes to developing the mutual recognition agreements, the customs will take the lead role, or customs will take the initiative and inform the relevant other governmental organizations such as foreign ministry to coordinate the mutual recognition agreements. We have already entered into customs cooperation agreements with several countries. We have already entered. There are more than, to my knowledge, there are more than 5 customs cooperation agreements with customs administrations of those countries. That means we have already established a partnership with some countries. So it is a matter of extending this beyond customs cooperation to a level mutual recognition. So once the program in place and once it is smoothly up and running, Sri Lanka Customs will initiate the discussions with the through or with the foreign ministry to sign up with the key partner countries, because this benefit is directly given to the exporters in Sri Lanka. Whenever they export the products from Sri Lanka, the same recognition what you have received in Sri Lanka will be extended to you, or will be extended to the importer in the other country, which will be cleared faster. So you will be able to then develop more business or give better prices and compete in the international market. So wait and keep your fingers crossed. Once the system or this program is in place and it is up and running smoothly, Sri Lanka Customs will take the initiative to sign up as much as possible the mutual recognition agreements with the partner trading countries. Thank you.
Thanks, Siddhartha. I think there was also a question coming in on asking what are the countries aligned with the mutual recognition agreement, but I think you sort of answered it by saying there are 5 countries where customs has already signed agreements, and you will extend it once this system is in place with the MRA as well. Is that correct? To understand that?
Yes, the 5 countries they are we have entered into an agreement for customs cooperation. Now, customs cooperation is totally a different concept where we share the information and data. But when it comes to mutual recognition, each country will have to admit that I recognize your AEO and you recognize my AEO. So that is the mutual recognition agreement, which will be a new development. We are planning to start it because since we already have the experience in signing.
I think we might have lost connection with Siddhartha, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe let's move on to the next resource person, Mr. Tilak Arachi, who's the DDC
to the level of mutual recognition.
All right, bring it back. Tilak, if I can maybe pose the next question to you. In terms of the AEO status, are there indirect benefits in having it? And what will sort of be the likely impact of the AEO program on the present Green Channel fast track program? I saw a couple of questions on this from the trade as well coming in the chat box.
Good afternoon. I assume that I'm clear enough. Am I clear enough?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, right. Now I have to take what Siddhartha said little forward when it comes to the benefits. Now, as it is very correctly pointed out, most of the benefits can be seen for our exporters, whereas I don't mean that there are no benefits for the importers, but I would like to emphasize the opportunities the AEO program offers to our exporters. Now, as it was mentioned earlier, AEO comes within the WCO framework of standards, a safe framework of standards, which is for the not only to facilitate trade, but also to provide safety and trust or the security or the reliability into the international trade. So what it means is now when a certificate is issued, it is not simply facilitate trade, but it's also a certificate of reliability and also a certificate for safety. So when you are dealing with a party who is certified for AEO, then at the same time, we know it's a reliable party. For example, if I take a scenario of an importer in Europe wants to import tea from Sri Lanka, what he would eventually do is he would look for a supplier in Sri Lanka, maybe through internet, or he might get his personal contacts or trade chambers to find a supplier. Then he can get down the catalogs and he can verify the quality, he can discuss the prices and so on, because there are so many quality certification authorities, agencies through which the quality of the products can be verified. But how can the importer verify the credibility of the supplier? That gap will definitely be filled by the AEO program, because it is not only a certificate for facilitation, but it also certify the reliability and the safety of the supplier. So eventually what will happen is our exporters will have more business opportunities, and the importers will be more confident in dealing with our suppliers. And it is vice versa. Our importers will also relying more on AEO certified suppliers in other countries in the international trade. So this is more beneficial, especially in the inward processing operations, which we focus more as a small and developing country, and we are trying to connect with global value chains, where we rely on secure and safe supply chains for raw materials and our products, which are maybe intermediate products or highly value-added products. When it is supplied these to global high-end markets, this certification of operators is very important. We can, it can be seen as a preferred supply network within which the transaction takes place. It is not only the supplier. Eventually, the AEO program will incorporate not only importers, exporters, all the operators who are within international trade. So it will definitely benefit developing countries like us in a bigger way than the developed countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Tilak. I think that sort of gave an outline, and also you covered both on the import side and the export side some of the direct and indirect benefits with that example as well. If I bring Siddharth Silva on board on the risk management side, how would your unit with the Sri Lanka Customs AEO program sort of what's the involvement with that program? And also, in terms of benchmarking, how do you really see this AEO program being in par with some of the international standards and worthy of being recognized? We talked about the mutual recognition, worthy of being recognized by other customs administration.
Thanks, Shiran. You can hear me, no?
Yes, you can hear.
Now, what we are going to do here is to give a certification on some entrepreneurs as reliable traders. So prior to do that, we have to assess the level of compliance of these companies. So it's all about risk. So we have to assess the risk of these companies and their consignments, then only we can grant this status. To do that, we have a risk management framework to assess the overall risk of the department, and then it will come to the risk management committee, and finally it has to come to the operation level. So when it comes to the operational level, so we are the people at risk management who do the groundwork for these assessments. So we will gather data, we will analyze those data. We will have so many criteria to do that, and with that we categorize these traders. Then only we will be able to recognize the compliance. Who are the traders with highest compliance, we can certify as the authorized economic operators. So the risk management unit is doing that part. So in accordance with Article 7.4 of WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement, we should have a proper risk management mechanism. So under that, we are having these assessments by using all these data to select high risk consignment for intrusive and non-intrusive examinations. And when we are assessing the overall risk, we have to look at so many aspects. We have to look at which area we are having risks, where it has an impact on achieving the departmental goals. Then it comes to an area that we have to look at the process reengineering. And as one of that process reengineering, we are having that trader registration filtration process. That's what we are doing through this electronic registration process. We have been successful in doing that, and ultimately, when we recognize the compliant traders, it's our responsibility to give them the maximum facility and liberty in their trade. In terms of Article 7.7 of WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement, we are committed to have a authorized economic program. So all in all, risk management unit is doing all the groundwork to decide the department on the traders who are capable of granting these AEO status. Thank you.
Thanks for that. In terms of the second question, in terms of raising the AEO program to be on par with some of the other international standards, how is that process working out?
Yeah, definitely. That now we are working on par with the international standards. We are under Article 7.7 of WTO agreement. We are following the best practices of other countries, and we are trying to implement what they are doing in their countries by adjusting it to Sri Lankan standards.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Next, let me bring on board Mr. Jaratna Bandara, who looks at compliance and facilitation. To our traders who are wondering if AEO validation is an audit, is that the case? And if AEO validation does not constitute an audit, what is the involvement of the Compliance and Facilitation Directorate in this program?
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I must say your question is AEO validation is an audit? I must say it is not an audit. It's a detailed review process. The question is, I think that for customs audit, you are afraid of auditing. Maybe because customs have been conducting a kind of investigative type audits. That's maybe the reason you are afraid of auditing. But I must say, from recent past, we have introduced a new concept for compliant traders that we call a system-based audit concept. But the validation is even not a system-based audit. It's just a process review. As Dinusha Hettiarchi said, we are going to offer you two kind of facilitation program. One is compliant economic operator, and the other one is authorized economic operator. For compliant economic operator, you have to have high level of legal and operational compliance. For AEO, you have to have, in addition, you have to follow supply chain security standards. But for a process review, for compliant economic operators, we normally don't do on-site visits. In the office, we can do the process review. And if it is an AEO, we have to visit your company and see whether the following things. First, we have to understand your business systems, and the purpose of understanding your business systems, I must say, we are offering you a facilitation. We don't check your cargo, we don't examine your custom declaration, and after clearance, we have to assure that whether your declarations are true and accurate as per the customs laws and other related laws and regulations. That's the purpose we have to ensure at the post-clearance stage. For this purpose, we have to verify whether you are complied with the customs laws and regulations, and you have maintained satisfactory commercial records according to generally accepted accounting principles of Sri Lanka. And also we have to check whether you have a financial stability, viability. And also we have to check whether you have you maintain commercial records in software systems. So we have to see you have IT security, and also we have to see whether you have a cargo and conveyance security. That means the cargo transportation, cargo handling and storage facilities, the security of those areas we have to check. And we have to check the appropriate access controls to physical access and purposes of security of staff, and also if there's anything happen in your company, there should be a mechanism to inform the customs if there's any risk involved in that area. And that is what we do at the validation process. I think that answer will be sufficient. If you have any questions, I can answer. And the second question is, what's the involvement of Compliance and Facilitation Directorate for this AEO program? I must say, sometimes you may have submitted custom declaration. There may be some errors or some very rarely there may be fraud involvement in the CUSDEC regarding the custom value, regarding the HS classification, regarding the origin, or any other reason. For those CUSDECs, we have to do transaction-based audit at the office. We don't visit your company. We just check your CUSDECs, and we check whether there are any recovery in that CUSDEC. And if there is no fraud involvement, we don't visit your companies. That I can assure. And after some times, we will have some system-based audit, not investigative types audit, system-based audit, to check whether you are complied with the customs laws and regulations when you submit your customs declarations. And sometimes it may be a compliance audit. That means you are complied to check your compliance level. I think the answer will be maybe sufficient. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vijayaratna. Next, we'll move on to Mr. Udita Jaisinga, who is in the Central Investigation Unit. A few questions on the AEO certification and aspect as well. How long will the AEO status be valid for? And can the AEO certificate be revoked?
Hope you all can hear me.
Yes.
Normally, AEO status and CEO status will be given for 2 years period. So there is the international standard of the given that facility. So as well, AEO facility can be revoked when they non compliance with the stipulated rules. So such companies will not be able to join the AEO or CEO program for a period determined by the AEO steering committee. So AEO status, so they can get AEO status via revalidation process after the expiration of their validity period of 2 years. So I think you have got the answer.
Right. How much does it really cost to participate in the AEO program, and what happens in the process that AEO application is rejected by customs?
Yeah, the AEO status is given free of charge by the customs, but they have to bear the additional their cost for that their logistic and procedural improvements as well as infrastructure development. So they will have to bear that cost for those things.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next we'll move into Dinusha. If I can have you online once again. I think we've sort of focused in today's discussion really around importers, exporters, and the clearing agents. What about the other operators? What benefits is Sri Lanka Customs really planning on giving some of the other operators who are also tuned into this webinar?
Yes, sure. I have seen a few questions being asked about whether BUI companies are allowed to participate in this program. Answer to that is yes, of course. BUI companies are importers and exporters, most of these companies. So they can participate in this program. I think this program will be immense beneficial to those companies because most of them are prominent exporters. So when they have AEO status next to their company name, company logo, AEO logo right next to their logo, in the international trade, they will get a prestigious status, as Mr. Tilak Marchi has mentioned earlier. So yes, they can apply. They have to go through the same application process as any other importer or exporter. They are allowed to participate. Then again, there was a question about shipping agents, another operator. With regard to shipping agents, we have shipping lines and agents. We have not yet incorporated them into this program, but we do plan to. When we had awareness sessions regarding the structure of this program, when we were planning the structure 1 year back in 2020 January, we invited the shipping lines and the shipping agents and the industrial bodies that represent the shipping lines and agents to come up with proposals how we can give them benefits. What kind of benefits do they expect from us when it comes to customs operations? And then we can include them giving those benefits, and we can decide what kind of requirements they have to fulfill in order to be given those benefits. There was another question regarding courier companies, another operator. For the courier companies come under logistic operators, but out of the logistic operators, we have only included the clearing agents for the moment. We do plan to include them as well in the future stages when we expand the program. They also can propose what kind of benefits they expect from us, so we can discuss within the AEO steering committee whether those benefits are possible and what kind of requirements they need to fulfill in order to get those benefits. Yes, definitely they all can get involved, but for the moment, BOI companies can apply. The other operators that the questions were posed about cannot apply at the moment, but they can make proposals and get included in the program in the future.
Thanks, Dinusha. There were also a question in terms of if a peripheral company of a group, so for example, I guess a subsidiary in a group has received the CEO's facilitation, will the other subsidiaries of the group benefit or get the facility automatically?
Direct answer is no. For each company within a group or a subsidiary, will have, for each legal entity, let's put it that way, will have to get the status on their own. But what they can do is, if they have one company who is qualified under CEO AEO status, they can use that company as the import and export hub of that group. So all the companies can do their imports and exports through that company which has the CEO status. That is one option. The other option is each and every arm of that group to get their own AEO CEO status.
Right. Another question in terms of, I think, clearinghouse agents, when a firm is having the services of a CHA for clearance, how does it affect the clearance lead time when either the CHA or firm is having the CEO AEO facility?
I have seen another question which related to that question, whether a clearing agent has the AEO CEO status, whether that status will be affected on the clearance that they do on the importers and exporters who do not have AEO CEO status. I think the answer would be no. The cargo imported or exported by those companies will not be exempted just because the clearing agent has the AEO status. Clearing agents will have a different set of benefits, which are getting a preferential treatment at the cargo clearance counters, specialized channels. To get the exemption from physical examination or the appraisal, the importer or exporter himself will have to get the AEO CEO status. There was another question regarding the fast track and green channel companies, whether it's optional or mandatory for them to apply for this program, whether there's a deadline for them to apply for this program. The simple answer is it is optional. As I said, this is a voluntary program. But having said that, they are enjoying certain benefits within green channel and fast track programs. And we plan to discontinue those programs within maximum of 6 months of launching the AEO program, which we launch in very near future. So it is advisable for them to apply for this program and get the status prior to the green channel and fast track facilitations being discontinued, because otherwise they will be left without any preferential treatment from customs. They will lose the green channel and fast track, and they will not have AEO CEO status unless they apply for this program.
Thanks, Dinusha. Any other questions you want to answer from the chat box?
There are some more questions that I've noted down. How can they apply? What is the application process? What is the web-based system? There was a question on those areas. Let me try to share my screen. If you can see, let me try to share my screen to show you the web-based system that we have. Can you see my browser window?
No, not as yet.
Well, if you go to this link, aeo.customs.gov.lk, you will go to the web-based portal that we are that's being developed for this application process and the management of the AEO CEO program. Now, when you go there, there'll be a link called sign up.
Right.
Can you see it?
No, Dinusha, we're not seeing it. Maybe you can drop the link on the chat box as well.
Let me explain the process.
Yeah.
Now, what they can do is when you go there, there's all the document that's associated with this program. How to apply, what are the document requirements, how to go from each step, how to get the account registered at first, and what information is required, all is available there. But do not go there and start applying now because we have not launched the program. This is primarily for the pilot project. So just go there and get the information, download all the information that's available, and get thorough with the information and get ready with the requirement. So there are so many procedural requirements that you have to fulfill. Most of the companies may not have those procedures documented. So you can go through there's a procedural guideline we have published, operational guide version 3.0. That document is a bit lengthy document with 50 pages or so. So it has all the requirements. So once you go through the document, you will understand what you have to fulfill in detail in each of these areas and be prepared. So once you launch the program officially, you can create an account, start applying. There's another question, Shiran, if I may take. Some few people have asked, there's a re-registration or e-registration process going on with Sri Lanka Customs, and they're providing some information for that project. Whether that information can be directly taken into AEO program without them applying for the AEO program. The answer is no. They cannot do that. No, these two are totally different programs. There's a disturbance.
Right, I'm mute. Please, everyone keep your mics on mute. You may continue, Dinusha.
Yeah. For the e-registration information are basically the business information. There are TIN certificates, VAT certificates, address information, those kind of information. These are just registration information. But for these AEO CEO programs, what we seek is not registration information. It is regarding their operational safety. So we will go into details whether they have procedures, safe procedures in place, whether they have proper record keeping facilities. So for those, we need different set of information. So definitely they will have to make a separate application with all these information, and it is a voluntary process. It's not mandatory. Those who are not willing to go through that application process can decide not to apply, but they will not get the benefits. The e-registration is a mandatory process. All the traders who plan to do an import or export through Sri Lankan Customs will have to go through that process and get registered. But this is a voluntary process. Those who are willing to show their compliance to customs and get additional benefits do have to go through this application process.
Thanks, Dinusha. So I think to a lot of the questions coming in and help you guide through the process as well, the chamber is looking to put together a program as well to really assist member companies interested in this program and sort of get them up to speed on the compliance as well. So I think do reach out to us as well to guide you all through it as well. I think you answered most of the questions that have come through. There was a question in terms of pre-arrival value assessments. There was a question in terms of rather than waiting to submit the CUSTEC, will it be possible to have pre-arrival value assessments or audit? If Dinusha or maybe Priyanta would like to answer that question.
The question is not clear, Shiran. What's exactly
rather than waiting to submit the CUSTEC, will it be possible to have pre-arrival value assessments or audit?
Advanced valuation. Advanced valuation is not something that we are offering at the moment. I think there are plans to have advanced rulings on valuation as well as rules of origin under a trade facilitation agreement. So once those facilities are available under implementation of TFA, advanced rulings on valuation will be available for all traders. But under this scheme, we are not offering that. No.
Right. There is also a question if, sure.
Can I answer, Shiran?
Sure,
Yes.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Actually, what I want to say is, if there is a dispute, you can apply for the valuation issues. You can report the valuation directly. But for the deciding value, you need not to consult anybody because you know the actual transaction value. You have to declare the actual transaction value to the customer. That's all we are expecting. So need not to consult because you know the but if there is any complication or if you have some sort of problem that whether something added to the value or not, so you can refer this matter to valuation committee, technical committee.
Shiran, let me intervene on this. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I understood. Actually, this is in relation with the pre-arrival processing. That is also another key requirement under the WTO TFA. Actually, you know, the most of the chamber colleagues know that this process is pending as required according to the some legal matters are pending at the legal draftsman department. Once these legal requirements are fulfilled, actually the comments from the legal draftsman department is received, we can implement that process. However, this measure is still pending. That is also under the requirement under WTO TFA.
Right. Thanks for that clarification. Any other questions that you all have seen that you'd like to take up at this point? Anyone else from the customs that would like to clarify any questions coming in?
Can I interact, Dinisha?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah, okay. There's a question with the introduction of AEO program. What will be the impact of non-AEO traders, non-AEO companies? Actually, absolutely, there won't be any impact to the non-AEO companies. They can proceed with the already established procedures. Only thing they can't enjoy the paramount benefits listed under this AEO scheme. And also, I'd like to mention, as most of our colleagues, our DG brought out, in one hand, it is obliged to fulfill the requirement under the WTO TFA. On the other hand, as recommended by the WCO, as per the provisions of Safe Framework of Standards, Revised Kyoto Convention, they are encouraged to provide additional trade facilitation benefits. There's a big grievances regarding our level of facilitation. In order to enjoy that benefits, you have to join with this type of very important vital programs. We would like to invite especially the chambers and the customs house agent to encourage your traders to join with us in order to enjoy the paramount trade facilitation benefit. And you know, we can't clap in one hand. We need your support. We need your encouragement, and there accordingly, please encourage the traders. There are many. Despite for the moment, we have selected only a couple of people, but there are many according to our understanding. You can join and enjoy the so-called paramount benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil, for that clarification. Just a couple of maybe final questions beyond the ones that are coming in the chat as well for clarification for the trade. Under this program, can the importers submit Custex 2 to 3 days before the ETA of the vessel? And is it applicable for all importers?
No, for that, we have to resort to the customs ordinance. Now, for
right.
the
yeah, that is also coming under this pre-arrival processing scheme. still for the moment it is pending. Really, our DG has already intervened on this matter and already informed the Secretary to the Treasury to expedite assist on in order to expedite the matter. And actually, as required under the TFAs also, we are obliged to do that, and hopefully we will be able to get that issue also resolved very soon.
Right. And as my final question, I think we've talked about the whole registration process as well. What are some of the critical processing steps other than the processing of the castex that should companies really look at, the wharf clerk should look at when clearing their cargo?
With regard to what, Shirana?
Other than so after registering for this program,
for the AEO program.
Yeah, the AEO program. Yeah.
For the AEO program, the clearing agents job is different. I mean, for the importers and both clearing agents' perspective, lodging of the castex at the time of, they will get a priority treatment. For the CEO companies, at the time of appraisal, for the AEO companies, appraisal will be exempted. For the CEO companies, cargo examination, the physical examination will be limited to maximum of, exemption will be up to 65%. So maximum of 35% will be examined. For the AEO companies, 100% of the cargo will be exempted from physical examination, subject to the random physical examination. And whenever there is a dispute with customs with regard to classification, valuation, or origin, for the CEO companies, 50% of the dispute amount will only be have to be given as furnished as bank guarantees. Rest of the 50% will be on a corporate security. For the AEO companies, it will be 100% on the corporate security. For the next stage is the valuation. When it comes to valuation, for both the CEO and AEO companies, routinely being referred to valuation directorate will be exempted. If there is a dispute or suspicion on the values that are submitted by them, it will be conducted through a post-clearance audit under the Compliance and Facilitation Directorate as a systems audit, as Mr. Jaratna Bandara mentioned earlier. Then again, with regard to the post-clearance audits, another important step, only once, maximum of once a year, post-clearance audits will be conducted to assess the compliance level of these companies. It doesn't say that they will be mandatorily audited once a year, maximum of once a year.
Right. Thank you so much. I think with that, we've sort of gone slightly beyond our time to close as well at 4 o'clock. Any closing remarks by any from resource panel from Customs before we wind up?
Yes, Jiran. Loud and clear?
Yes, very clear.
Let me first of all thank Mr. Sudat Silva, DDC of RMU, and then Dinusa Hettiarachchi for submitting a kind of a very informative and educative presentation for the staff and members of the Ceylon Chambers of Commerce. Well, now I was carefully listening to all the questions and then the answers. And when the questions were posed on our officers, rather the panel, I just got the hint that the traders have kind of a suspicious thing in them, that this would be kind of a harassing sort of cumbersome process. It's not so. I mean, you can give the guarantee once that is started. Of course, the process will be little longer and lengthy. Yeah, as Dinusha Hettiarachchi very correctly brought out, they'll have to go into the details of the operational part of the trader. So therefore, it will be a lengthier process. But we will make sure that we will have all the ways and means to reduce the burden on the trader when this process started. So don't have anything in their mind that the custom would sort of harass them. Also, I mean, this is kind of a facility that we are going to extend to all the traders, particularly the exporters and then the in general importers. And this is, remember, this is also coming under WTO TFA. So we have to definitely comply, and then we have to inform them that we have complied. So therefore, I think it's very important for traders to join hand with us to move ahead. And thank you very much, Shan, for conducting the panel discussion. And I hope that everyone who joined with us today got and understood indeed what this AEO and then CEO process is going to be. Thank you very much. And I should also again extend my sincere thanks to Dinusha and Sudat Silva and all the other officers who were sharing their knowledge and experience with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Major General, for those closing remarks. I think really putting the way forward for this, and this is just, I think, the opening step, as you said, to really get this awareness created within the private sector. So the private sector will take this on board and really help customs as well as themselves in trade facilitation. From the Chamber's point of view as well, I think this is the first of many steps in this initiative that we'd like to really help the private sector. And I think straight after this webinar, we're looking to send across a questionnaire to really understand the interest to go forward in this, and then maybe look to help these members in applying for the AEO and CEO training, to give training as well as apply for this process as well. So on that note, let me thank all the participants, all the resource persons from Customs for joining in today, for providing the insights. It was very clear and clarified a lot of the points that the trade also brought in. And to the participants also, thanks for staying for the last 2 hours, giving us a listen and asking some of these questions, which I'm sure Customs will also take on board in these initiatives to develop it forward. Thank you very much. We will definitely send across the presentations and the recording to those who've joined in and also those who registered for this program. Thank you very much and have yourself a good evening.